Okay, so welcome everybody. Thank you so much for joining. Today we are doing third canto, chapter 10, and on the day of Ekadashi, it's always super excellent to recite the Srimad Bhagavatam. Any day is good, but especially on Ekadashi. So we are very fortunate that Ananda Leela is here, who is going to recite the Sanskrit. And the English, if Puna Mataji or Shevi would like to do, you're welcome to do, huh? So, over
Hare
to
Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Yes, Prabhuji, I'll do that. Yeah, thank you.
Fantastic. So it's up to the first 9 sloks, Nandalila Mataji. Over to you.
Srinityananda Chandram Patita Sharanadam Gauradam Tam Bhajeham Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shirvasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudire Nasta Praishva Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Sloke Bhaktir Bhavati Neshtiki Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Canto 3, Chapter 10, Divisions of the Creation. Vidura Uvacha Antarhite Bhagavati Brahmaloka Pitamaha Prajaha Sasarja Katidha Daihikir Manasir Vibhu.
Shri Vidur said, O great sage, please let me know how Brahma, the grandfather of the planetary inhabitants, created the bodies of the living entities from his own body and mind after the disappearance of the Supreme Personality of Godhead.
Ye chame Bhagavan Prishtas Tvai Artha Bahuvitama Tan Vadasvanupurvyena Chindhinah Sarva Samsayan.
O greatly learned one, kindly eradicate all my doubts and let me know of all that I have inquired from you from the beginning to the end.
Sutta uvacha evam sanchoditastena kshatrako saravirmunihi pritaha pratyahatan prashnan hirdisthan atha bhargava.
Suta Goswami said, O son of Raghu, the great sage Maitreya Muni, thus hearing from Vidur, felt very much enlivened. Everything was in his heart, and thus he began to reply to the questions one after another.
Maitreya uvacha virinchopi tatha chakre divyam varsha satam tapaha atmanyatmanamavishya yatha bhagavanajaha.
The greatly learned sage Maitreya said, O Vidur, Brahma thus engaged himself in penances for 100 celestial years, as advised by the personality of Godhead, and applied himself in devotional service to the Lord.
Tadvilokyabjashambhuto vayuna yat adhishtitaha padmam ambhascha tatkala kritaviryena kampitam.
Thereafter Brahma saw that both the lotus on which he was situated and the water on which the lotus was growing were trembling due to a strong, violent wind.
तपसा हि धमानेन विद्यया चात्मसंस्थया विवृद्ध विज्ञानबलो न्यपद्वायुं सहाम्भषा.
Long penance and transcendental knowledge of self-realization had matured Brahma in practical knowledge, and thus he drank the wind completely, along with the water.
तद्विलोक्य वियद्व्यापी पुष्करं यद् अधिष्ठितम् अनेन लोकान् प्राग्लीनान् कल्पितास्मिति अञ्चितयात्.
Thereafter he saw that the lotus on which he was situated was spread throughout the universe, and he contemplated how to create all the planets which were previously merged in that very same lotus.
पद्मकोशं तदाविश्य भगवत्कर्म चोदितः एकं व्यभाङ्क्षि दुरुद्धा त्रिधा भाव्यं द्विसप्तधा.
Thus, engaged in the service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Brahma entered into the whirl of the lotus, and as it spread all over the universe, he divided it into 3 divisions of worlds, and later into 14 divisions.
एतावाञ्जीवलोकस्य संस्थाभेदः समाहितः धर्मस्य हि अनिमितस्य विपाकः परमेष्ठ्यसो.
Lord Brahma is the most exalted personality in the universe because of his causeless devotional service unto the Lord in mature transcendental knowledge. He therefore created all the 14 planetary divisions for inhabitation by the different types of living entities.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you, Shavi, as well. Very, very nice to hear your voice. So the name of this chapter is The Divisions of the Creation. And Vidur, in the previous chapter, had many questions for Maitreya Rishi. And he inquired also how Brahma created the bodies of the living entities from his own body and mind. Maitreya enthusiastically answered, because these questions were all related to the Supreme and to the creation. Brahma engaged himself in penances of devotional service for 100 celestial years. And then Brahma, having matured in practical knowledge, drank the wind. We saw how the wind had come up and he drank it, and the water of devastation that threatened his position. So he, through maturity, through devotional service, he understood what to do. After that, he divided the lotus roll eventually into the 14 planetary systems. So this lotus is quite an integral part of the creation. Even the spiritual world, even Golok Vrindavan is actually in the shape of this lotus. And if we get an opportunity, I'll just bring that up when we do the next bit, just to demonstrate what this is. The lotus is has different petals, and according to the different rasas, these petals are arranged. So in the same way, this universe is in the same way created through this lotus. And Lord Brahma gained the intelligence through the tapasya, how to convert the lotus roll into the 3 worlds, that's the upper, lower, and middle, where we're in the middle, and the 14 planetary systems as well. So obviously very intricate job, requiring lots of intelligence, and hence why our Lord Brahma has 4 heads. Now, the next is up to text number 13.
Vidura uvacha यथाथ बहुरूपस्य हरेरद्भुतकर्मणः कालाख्यं लक्षणं ब्रह्मन् यथा वर्णयनः प्रभो.
Vidura inquired from Maitreya, O my lord, O greatly learned sage, kindly describe eternal time, which is another form of the Supreme Lord, the wonderful actor. What are the symptoms of that eternal time? Please describe them to us in detail.
मैत्रेय उवाच गुणव्याधिकराकारो निर्विशेषो प्रतिष्ठितः पुरुषस्तद् उपादानम् आत्मानं लीलया सृजत्.
Maitreya said, eternal time is the primeval source of the interactions of the three modes of material nature. It is unchangeable and limitless, and it works as the instrument of the Supreme Personality of Godhead for his pastimes in the material creation.
विश्वं वै ब्रह्म तन्मात्रं संस्थितं विष्णुमायया ईश्वरेण परिच्छिन्नं कालेन व्यक्तमूर्तिना.
The cosmic manifestation is separated from the Supreme Lord as material energy by means of Kala, which is the unmanifested, impersonal feature of the Lord. It is situated as the objective manifestation of the Lord under the influence of the same material energy of Vishnu.
यथेदानीं तथाग्रे च पश्चादपि एतदीदृशम्.
This cosmic manifestation is as it is now. It was the same in the past, and it will continue in the same way in the future.
Thank you so much. So let's have a look at. Okay, so this is like the abodes of the Supreme, including the material world as well. So just to give this is a very summarized overview, of course. Golok Vrindavan, Vaikuntha. We have Mahesh Dham, Lord Shiva's abode, and we have Devi Dham, this material world. And just to look at it a little bit more detail, there you go. This is Golok Dham. And you can see this is the roll in the middle where Radha and Krishna are situated. And then you've got the lotuses, the petals of the lotus flower. And immediately next to the roll is the petals of the gopis. And then we have the petals of the manjaris. And then the petals of Vatsalya Bhav, Krishna's mother and father and elders. And then his friends. So in that way, this is how the spiritual world is actually organized. And similarly, this material world is also organized in a similar way. So, okay. Fine. No. Let's just carry on.
Sorry, Prabhuji.
Yes.
Just out of curiosity, is that the same lotus where Brahmaji is situated upon?
Yes, it will be. It's part of the same lotus. That lotus where he's seated, it expands once he gets realization. Then he uses that whole lotus to as part of the creation. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
It's not the spiritual world. That is part of this material world. Huh?
Two different lotuses.
Yeah, it's a different lotus. So the lotus of the Golok is Golok. It's not part of the material world. Is that what you meant? That lotus?
No, I meant that was it the same lotus? Because
that he was born upon.
Yes.
That's correct. That's correct. But this, and what happens is the stem. Actually, the stem is used by Lord Brahma to create the planetary systems. So we'll see that later, how he uses different parts of the lotus to create the material world.
Yes, Prabhuji, thank you.
Thank you so much. Okay, so hang on, what happened? Okay. Maitreya spoke about time in several places. Chapter 8, for instance, we've already spoken about time. So Vidur asks him about eternal time, and Maitreya describes the characteristics of eternal time. Source of the characteristics are the source of interaction of the modes. So time actually makes the modes happen, interact. Time also has lack of attributes, and hence it's imperceptible. Lack of attributes means it's neutral. It's neutral. It's limitless, without beginning or end. This is the nature of time. It separates the material energy from the Lord. So time in this world destroys, but time in the spiritual world serves. It's a completely different concept of how time relates to the different energies of the Lord. Time divides the universe into various battery systems. So what does that mean? It means that, like, for example, the function of time in this world is different a little bit from the function of time in the heavenly planets. In the heavenly planets, time is much greater, much vaster. So here, 1 day is equivalent to 6 months in the heavenly planets. So, or is it the other way around? Can't remember now exactly. But time is much. 1 day up there is 6 months here. That's right. Thank you. So time goes much slower. It's much broader. Here it goes fast. And in hell it goes even faster. Unmanifested, impersonal feature of the Lord. Can't see time, right? It's objective manifestation or representative of the Lord. So a little bit like lacking attributes. It's not subjective, it's objective. It causes the universe to appear in the present as it was in the past and shall be in the future. So here time is linear. It just goes in a, from the, as soon as moment passes, it's in the past and the future is yet to come. But in the spiritual world, it's different. Time serves not as destructive element, but as a serving element. So time, which is very hard for us to understand, but yesterday could be tomorrow, depending on the mood of the Lord. Whereas in this world, yesterday is always yesterday. It's never going to be tomorrow. It's not going to be today either. Having described time in general, Maitreya will describe time again in detail in chapter 11. So now it's all the way up to text number 30. Okay.
सर्गो नवविधस्तस्य प्राकृतो वैकृतस्तु यः कालद्रव्यगुणेरस्य त्रिविधः प्रतिसंक्रमः.
There are 9 different kinds of creations besides the one which naturally occurs due to the interaction of the modes. There are 3 kinds of annihilations due to eternal time, the material elements and the quality of one work.
आद्यस्तु महतः सर्गो गुणवैषम्यमात्मनः द्वितीयस्त्व अहमो यत्र द्रव्यन्यायक्रियोदयः.
Of the 9 creations, the first one is the creation of the Mahatattva, or the sum total of the material ingredients, wherein the modes interact due to the presence of the Supreme Lord. In the second, the false ego is generated, in which the material ingredients, material knowledge, and material activities arise.
भूतसर्गस्थित्रियस्तु तन्मात्रो द्रव्यशक्तिमान् चतुर्थ इन्द्रियः सर्गो यस्तु न्यायक्रियात्मकः.
The sense perceptions are created in the third creation, and from these the elements are generated. The fourth creation is the creation of knowledge and of working capacity.
वैकारिको देवसर्गः पञ्चमो यन्मयं मनः षष्ठस्तु तमसः सर्गो यस्त्वा अबुद्धिकृतः प्रभोः.
The fifth creation is that of the controlling deities by the interaction of the mode of goodness, of which the mind is the sum total. The sixth creation is the ignorant darkness of the living entity, by which the master acts as a fool.
सद्इमे प्राकृताः सर्गा वैकृतानपि मेषिनु रजो भाजो भगवतो लीलेयं हरिमेधसः.
All the above are natural creations by the external energy of the Lord. Now hear from me about the creations by Brahma, who is an incarnation of the mode of passion and who, in the matter of creation, has a brain like that of the personality of Godhead.
सप्तमो मुख्यसर्गस्तु सद्विधस्तस्तु शांचयः वनस्पति औषधीलता त्वक्सारा विरुधो द्रुमः.
The seventh creation is that of the immovable entities, which are of 6 kinds. The fruit trees without flowers, trees and plants which exist until the fruit is ripe, creepers, pipe plants, creepers which have no support, and trees with flowers and fruits.
उत्सृतसस्तमः प्राया अन्तः स्पर्शा विशेषिणः.
All the immovable trees and plants seek their subsistence upwards. They are almost unconscious but have feelings of pain within. They are manifested in variegatedness.
तिरश्चाम् अष्टमः सर्गः सोऽष्टाविंशद्विधो मतः अविदो भूरितमसो घ्राणन्या हृदयवेदिनः.
The eighth creation is that of the lower species of life, and they are of different varieties, numbering 28. They are all extensively foolish and ignorant. They know their desirables by smell, but are unable to remember anything within the heart.
गौरजो महिषः कृष्णः सूकरो गवयोरुरुः द्विसफाः पशवश्चैमे अविरुस्त्रश्च सत्तम.
O purest Vidur, of the lower animals, the cow, goat, buffalo, Krishna stag, hog, Gavaya animal, deer, lamb, and camel all have cloven hooves.
खरोस्वो स्वतरो गौरः सरभश्च मरी तथा एते चैकसफः क्षतः श्रीनु पञ्च नखान् पशून्.
The horse, mule, ass, Gaura, Sharaba bison, and the wild cow all have only one hoof. Now you may hear from me about the animals who have 5 nails.
स्वाश्रीगालो वृको व्याघ्रो मार्जारः ससलको सिंह कपिर्गजः कुर्मो गोधा च मकरादयः.
The dog, jackal, tiger, fox, cat, rabbit, sajaru, lion, monkey, elephant, tortoise, alligator, gosapa, etc. all have 5 nails in the claws. They are known as panchanakhas, or animals having 5 nails.
कंकाघ्रिद्राबकशेन भाषा भालुकबर्हिणः हंससारसचक्रहव काकुलुकादयाः कघाः.
The heron, vulture, crane, hawk, bhasa, baluka, peacock, swan, sarasa, chakravak, crow, owl, and others are the birds.
अर्वाक्षोत्रस्तु नवमः क्षतर एकविधो नृणां रजोऽधिकः कर्मपरा दुःखे च सुखमानिनः.
The creation of the human beings, who are of one species only, and who stock the eatables in the belly, is the 9th in the rotation. In the human race, the mode of passion is very prominent. Humans are always busy in the midst of miserable life, but they think themselves happy in all respects.
वैकृतास्त्रय एवैते देवसर्गश्च सत्तम वैकारिकस्तु यः प्रोक्तः कुमारस्तु भयात्मकः.
O good Vidur, these last 3 creations and the creation of demigods, the 10th creation, are Vaikrit creations, which are different from the previously described Prakrit or natural creations. The appearance of the Kumaras is both.
देवसर्गश्चाष्टविधो विबुधा पितरो सुराः गन्धर्वाप्सरसः सिद्धा यक्षरक्षांसि चारणाः भूतप्रेतपिशाचाश्च विद्याध्राः किन्नरादयः दशैते विदुराख्याताः सर्गास्ते विश्वस्वीकृताः.
The creation of the demigods is of 8 varieties. 1. The demigods. 2. The forefathers. 3. The asuras or demons. 4. The Gandharvas and apsaras or angels. 5. The yakshas and rakshasas. 6. The siddhas, charanas and vidyadharas. 7. The bhutas, pretas and pishachas. And 8. The superhuman beings, celestial singers, etc. All are created by Brahma, the creator of the universe.
Well, yeah, you might be muted. Okay, good.
Okay. Yes, sorry, Prabhu, we had trouble with that.
That's okay.
Ataha param pravachyami vamsan manvantaraani cha evam rajah prutah shrashta kalpadishvatma bhurharihi srijati amugha sankalpa atmaivatmanam atmana. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Now I shall describe the descendants of the Manus. The creator Brahma, as the incarnation of the passion mode of the personality of Godhead, creates the universal affairs with unfailing desires in every millennium by the force of the Lord's energy. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Hare
Wonderful.
Krishna.
Well done, JB. Beautifully read. So now this is a very technical part of the Bhagavatam. It gives a little summary of how Lord Brahma, oops, wrong one. Let me just, one second. Gives in summary the creation, but there's a lot more detail that comes later. But now it's just a very brief summary, so we can just summarize it ourselves. Great. So 3 types of annihilation: eternal time, time destroys; material elements, this happens at the end of Brahma's day, when part of the creation, material creation, merges into Lord Brahma; and the quality of one's work, i.e. we destroy ourselves. So these are the 3 types of destruction. Kal, due to time, devastation of all the universes, eventually even ends Lord Brahma's life. Although it's a long life by our standards, 311 trillion 40 billion years. The second type of destruction is Dravya, which is due to the material elements by the fire of Sankarasan, and it's at the end of Brahma's day. And then we have the quality of our works due to our own actions, consumption of one's own body. That's a third type of destruction. And then there's 10 types of creation, of which 6 are natural and are created by the external energy of the Lord. So these are the Mahatattva. These are the types of creation: the false ego, sense perception and elements, the knowledge and working capacity, demigods in the mind, and the ignorant darkness of the living entities. These are all natural creations. How does the ignorant darkness of the living entity become a creation? It's because the Lord fulfills our desires. So the Mahatattva, which is the total sum of material ingredients, is type of creation. Ahankar, false ego, different types of material elements are introduced. The sense objects and the indriyas, the senses, these are different types of creations again. Demigods in the mind, interaction of Saptagun, and then Tamagun, where the living entity, due to its ignorance, is also a source of creation. And then there's a secondary creation. So the initial creation is called Sarga, and then we have Visarga. Visarga is a secondary creation. Brahma utilizes the Lord's ingredients to create various bodies for the living entities. So we heard how immovable plants are created, and the lower animals and birds, humans, eventually the demigods. So this is split into 4 types of secondary creation: the immovable parts, and their characteristics are they're not conscious, they upward nourishment, which means they grow towards the sun and the moon. They feel pain when cut, and there's unlimited varieties. And then there's 6 types of these plants, ones that don't flower but have fruit, annual plants that grow with the season, plants that need support. There's the hollow plants, bamboo. There's plants which need no support at all, and plants which give fruit through the flowers. Then we have the lower species, and there's the characteristics, they're horizontal nourishment. So they look after each other to a degree. No concept of future deliberation. They don't there's no planning involved necessarily. Preoccupied with eating and sleeping, and mating and defending, the other two needs. Understand their needs by smell. There's 28 types. There's the two-hoofed, the one-hoofed, the five-clawed, and there's birds and aquatics. Then we have the human beings. Downward nourishment. So we generally decay over time. Passionate, very passionate, dedicated to work, think themselves happy even in distress. Only one type. And then demigods, there's 8 types. It's very interesting. We Buddhas, Prithus, the forefathers. The Asuras are counted as part of the demigods, which is quite interesting. The Darvas, Yakshas, Rakshasas, Siddhas, Charanas, Vidyadharas. These are all superhuman beings. Bhutas, Pretas, Pisachas, Kinnaras, Kimpurushas, others. So this is just giving a very, very brief summary. And again, this will be elaborated in some detail in the next few chapters. And then Maitreya Rishi describes the descendants of the Manu and a bit of time as well. And I think in the next chapter, he describes a lot more about time. So that's the end of chapter 10. Quite technical, quite tough to understand. Any questions? Oh, Surinder, anything you'd like to share?
Prabhuji, I have a couple of questions.
Yeah, sure. Go for it.
Prabhuji, if you could share this slide with the first one. We did shlokas 1 to 8.
Oh, yeah.
Please, yeah. The summary of shloka 1 to 8.
Yeah. Oh. Yes. Oh, can you see?
So, yes, Prabhuji, thank you. So, Prabhuji, here at one place we're talking about 100 celestial years, and then another time we're talking about eternal time. Is it the same? Is it different? And when we say celestial years, what exactly is a number that we're looking at in terms of our normal years?
Celestial years are those which belong to the demigods. So that will be a lot longer than our life. So their 100 years would be quite a huge amount of time, but not significant for Brahma. Brahma's life is 311 trillion years. So 100 celestial years, I think one day is equal to 6 months. So we'll have to work it out, but it's a long period of time, 100 celestial years. But for us, it's a long period of time. For Brahma, it's not a huge amount of time. This is calculated in accordance with heavenly years or celestial years. So I can't actually work it out off the top of my head, but 1 day is equal to 6 months of Lord Brahma. Jayanti is going to make an attempt to calculate it. And how does it relate to eternal time? This is just a little speck, just a tiny bit of time, but eternal time is vast, of course, vast, very, very vast. And just to gauge what eternal time means, one breath of Lord Vishnu, Mahavishnu, is equal to a life of Brahma. And a life of Brahma is equal to 311 trillion, 40 billion years. And that is one breath of Vishnu. So if we're looking at eternal time, 100 celestial years is nothing. One life of Brahma is nothing. One breath of Vishnu is something. But again, in terms of eternal time, it's nothing. So Jane just worked out.
2 days is 1 year, so 1 year is 178 years.
So it looks like he has meditated for 17,800 years, our years. That's what it looks like anyway. Might be wrong on that. That's the way I understand it.
Wow.
Does that make sense?
Yes, Prabhuji. No, I mean, coincidentally, today I happened to read a page, from Ashtavakra Gita.
Right.
So Ashtavakra was another interesting person or personality, and in that, I happened to read about time as well. Again,
Right.
that they talk in terms of space and time.
Yeah.
And there is this story about Raivatak Muni. So he is looking for a groom for his daughter Revati,
Oh, yeah.
and
That's
he
right.
goes to Brahma
That's right.
to find, to help him, find the right person.
Yeah.
But at that time, it was I think by the time he comes back, I mean, he was about to come back, Brahmaji said, it is now Sri Krishna's yug, it is going to be Dwapar. The yug has changed, so you might as well get her married to Balaram, who is Sri Krishna's brother. So we were just fascinated by, and we were just trying to discuss times, and I thought, of you at that time, because you always have big calculations about times,
That's true.
which I specifically keep myself away from, because I know I'm not going to be able to work out that maths, or even if I work out, I won't remember it.
That's right. No, that story, that pastime is actually given in the Bhagavatam as well. He spent one moment in Brahma's place, and it was like few yugas had passed. So then, as you said nicely, Brahma said to him that there's no point worrying about when you go back. Just get her married off to Lord Balaram. And of course, when Balaram met her, she was much taller. So with his plow, he reduced her size.
Interesting. Yes, it is very much possible, isn't it? Yes.
Yeah. Because she was in a previous age and much taller. Satyayug, she was much taller than Balaram. And then he reduced her size. Very interesting.
Very interesting, yes. So, and then there was this discussion about, past, present, and future as well. And they said that what we consider as present might not be present, in terms of, we think the sun, say for example, is rising. For us, it is rising now, but there's a time lapse. By the time we could see the sun, we could actually feel the sun coming out. So there's 9 minutes delay, by the time the sun rises, and we can actually perceive it. So similarly, if somebody was on a different planet, but if they were to, if they are 5,000 years, before us, then they would be viewing Mahabharat's Yuddha. So that was quite an interesting aspect of, counting time and interesting aspect.
Yeah, no, it is. It's quite fascinating. The concept of Vedic time is, wow. Yeah, you could spend a whole lifetime and still not understand it. So thank
one
you.
more thing, Prabhuji, sorry. When we in the first 1 to 8 shlokas, again, he said that first he created 3 things, and then he created 14 planetary
3 worlds.
entities.
3 worlds.
So what are the 3 worlds that we're talking about?
Yeah, it's the upper. Is it Bhupaswa? I think it's the upper planets, the lower planets, and Earth. Okay, Bhupaswa. But it's basically the heavens, the Earth, and the lower planetary systems. And then he splits them up into the 14 planetary systems. So he creates the 3 worlds, and then he creates the 14 planetary systems as within those 3 worlds.
Okay, thank you, Prabhuji.
Thank you. Surinder, anything you'd like to share?
Hare Krishna, Dandavat everybody.
Krishna.
Yes, Srinitananda Chandram Padita Sharanadam Gauradam Tam Bhajiham. Yes, very interesting Prabhu. And about creation.
Yeah.
And it's like we understand in Bhagavad Gita in a very summarized form. Krishna, he explains that time I am destroyer of the world.
Yeah.
Some quotation from Bhagavad Gita. And also in summary form, this is very descriptive about the creation. In a summary form, which we, in a nutshell, what we have to grasp about this creation or this world is Krishna explains in Bhagavad Gita, this world is described as Dukhalayam Ashashvatam. Yeah, so it's full of misery and it is temporary. So the summum bonum of all these understanding about these creations, time, etc. is summarily described in Bhagavad Gita. And therefore, with our small capacity of understanding and grasping the vast descriptions about these descriptions about creations is a bit difficult, but we understand it through Bhagavad Gita in a summary form. So also, Gauranga Mahaprabhu says, Grihe thako, vane thako, sada hari bale dakho, sukhe dukhe bhulo nako, vadane hari naam koro. So whether we are in happy mood or distress, vadane hari naam koro. We should always engage in vandana of Harinam. We should do offer prayers, Harinam, chant the holy name of Krishna, Hari Kirtan, Hari Katha, Hari, like that, Hari Darshan in deity worship, like that, etc. So then it is explained as a reference with lotus flower. There is one verse by Kunti Devi, Nama Pankaja Nabhaya, Nama Pankaja Maline, Nama Pankaja Netraya, Namaste Pankajangraye. So this verse is very easy to remember, and it's a good way to remember Krishna. Kunti Devi describing the different parts of the body of Krishna with reference to lotuses. Like that. And in Prem Dham Devastotram we have Lakshakoti Darpanabha Deha Varana Gauravam Padma Parijata Gandha Vanditanga Surabham Kotikam Amurchitangri Ruparasharangaram Prema Dhama Devam Evanomi Gaura Sundaram. Then there is explaining that there is earthly lotus flower and there is heavenly lotus flower. So both the earthly lotus flower personified and the heavenly lotus flower personified, they are always constantly worshipping, glorifying Gauranga Mahaprabhu. In this verse, it is described like that. Hare Krishna Prabhu, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. Very good.
Thank you.
Okay, let's end there. Thank you very much. Lovely Ekadashi. Hope everybody's fasting and enjoying the fast. And tomorrow we can finish it fast at, I think, 4:45 till about 10 o'clock. So thank you so much, everybody. Hare Krishna. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai.